Business is all about bringing value to your consumers. Business doesn't care about your age, your nationality, or your gender. Yet for some reason, there are women across America who still face adversity in their pursuit to achieve success, either as an entrepreneur or in the corporate world. Not only doesn't that make any sense, but when I asked Kevin OLeary from Shark Tank if men perform better in business than women do, here was his reply. In all my years of investing, almost all of my returns have come from companies either owned or run by women. It's remarkable how good they are at business. As the saying goes, if you want to get something done, give it to a busy mom. And it's true, the numbers don't lie. So what are the struggles that women face in business? And more importantly, what can we do about it? And so I sat down today with Janet Schijns, Vice President of Solution and Sales Channels for Verizon Business Markets, managing a multi-billion-dollar operation. And with Elaine Comau, who is an elementary school teacher who discovered a unique way to help kids become less anxious about their daily schedules. Elaine set up shop in her home, saved up an extra $1,400, and just a couple days after her third child was born, founded her company called EasyDaysies straight off of her kitchen table. And so in this interview today, we're going to talk about what were the struggles that they faced in business. And number two, as a young mom with young kids at home, how did they find and manage that work-life balance? And finally, if they could go back and give themselves one piece of advice, if they had to do it all again. And so Janet, I want to open the conversation with you. What were the struggles that you faced in your journey that brought you to where you are today?
So, I always try to break things down, and I think there's three things that were the biggest hurdles for me. So the first one is probably the hardest one, which was believing that I could do it myself, not listening to that voice inside me that said, you're an imposter, you shouldn't be in the room, they're better than you, they're smarter than you. And that's all down to, whatever experiences you've had in your life that have told you that maybe you can't keep up. They were wrong. And then the other two, I think, are a little harder to fix because they're external. So the first one is there wasn't a lot of women in this industry that I'm in. There still isn't. And so that's interesting in the technology industry because women, or at least myself, I like to be part of a pack, part of a tribe. And there wasn't much of a tribe. So it was something I had to really work on and network and find other women that did what I did, that had the experiences I had, and create my own virtual tribe of women that I could turn to. So even when I was alone in a room, I was, never truly alone. And the final one was just getting the opportunity to have the experiences. So when you're the first to do something, or one of the first to do something, the, collective crowd is a little less likely to let you have that experience. And so you have to find unique ways to get the experience that you want so that you can actually be qualified for that next level of leadership. And I did a lot of that through not-for-profits like the CompTIA organization, allowing me to run a big P&L for a not-for-profit as a board member, and therefore being able to demonstrate that I could do that as well. So it really came down to confidence, community, and experience.
If you could think back over all the years that you've been doing this, was there one particular thing that stood out that was almost that hardest struggle, that was that pivotal moment to you, as far as maybe I should turn back and not do this, but you were able to overcome it? Was there any particular episode or time frame that took place that you could share with us?
Absolutely. So, there comes, I think, a point in everybody's career, and I actually have started a private Facebook group called Tech World Path to try to stop this from happening, because I think there's a point in every female's career where they consider dropping out, and where all of their friends and family are pretty supportive of that, right? They say, it's okay, maybe you'll do something else, it's fine, we don't want you to be upset. And I had that pivotal moment actually a few years back, and my mom was a businesswoman, and she actually was sick the first time that she had cancer, and everybody was supportive of me kind of dropping out, and I can still remember it because she kind of grabbed my hand and she said, you gonna drop out? And I said, why? And she said, the most disappointed I've ever been in you was when you were cheering instead of playing a sport, when I knew you wanted to be on the field. And this will now replace that as the most disappointing, because you're going to go step back on the sidelines and let somebody else play your sport, which is, growing a career as a leader. Don't do it. You don't need to do it.
Wow.
And it was really a pivotal moment for me where I realized that everybody was trying to be supportive, but in fact, they were talking me into a bad decision. And my mom, as a lifelong career woman, stepped up, and she was absolutely right. I would have regretted it.
I first have to say thank you to Janet for sharing. I absolutely just related to everything that she was sharing about making that switch from going into the corporate world. I'm not in the corporate world. I used to be a school teacher, teaching grade 2 primarily, and then jumped into the world of being an entrepreneur. And I think that what would hold women back from making that leap is that fear of taking that leap into the unknown. And I once heard it best described when someone said that a definition of an entrepreneur is someone who jumps off a cliff and then builds the airplane on the way down. And then I think, how true is that? And I think it's basically lacking 3 things that would cause one to not proceed into being an entrepreneur. And that is, like what Janet said, just the lack of community or support, and thinking you're going into this all on your own and doing it alone, and the lack of know-how, because I was a school teacher with no business background, and often a woman entrepreneur is coming from a different career background. And that third one is a lack of capital. Is now that you've got this great idea, how are you going to fund it? How are you going to make it happen? And so it just automatically of course, when you jump, things happen really fast. And you do start building that airplane on the way down, and you make it happen.
That's terrific. And one more point before I get to you, Janet, if you don't mind. I know that Kevin has told me and other people many times, and he has seen a whole lot of different businesses on his own and the businesses that he's invested in. And he's told me that from all the businesses that he's invested in, the only ones to return to him a profitable return are the ones run by women. So having someone like that on your team, especially the fact that you mentioned that there weren't so many people to give you that support like that. What's it like having Kevin on your team?
Kevin is incredibly wise, and I still remember our first meeting we ever had together, and it was over a breakfast meeting, and my husband was there, and Kevin's right-hand man was there, and they were just all enjoying their breakfast. I couldn't take a bite. I couldn't swallow. I could barely breathe. But everything that he says is very thought out, because he's so experienced in business, and he doesn't want to waste time, or your time, and he values your time, and he values your money. And I remember how he, in the course of a breakfast, changed my entire product line and brought my quantities of SKUs in my product line to less than half. And it was just because he was being respectful of efficiency for our resellers, to the end user, and just very brilliant. And I love how he supports family. And people don't think that when they look at Kevin OLeary. They think it's just all about those green little soldiers called money. But he's very much about family. And bottom line, it's the most important people at the end of the day is your family.
Incredible. So Janet, let me turn to you for a second. So what do you see on your end, having a Facebook group to help women in technology? Are things different? Do we need to do more? What's your take on that?
So it's so great that you asked that question, and I'm going to answer it in 2 parts. So the first part is, I was a mompreneur before I knew that was a thing. I have my own firm. I actually sold out and went back to corporate America in a good way when I was ready, when my kids were a little older. And, from that time to now, just the support that I see here in less than a decade since I went back to corporate America, it has just been phenomenal, because social media has made that change where you can have friends around the world versus friends around the corner.
That's excellent. Let me ask you this, and I want to close with this question. I want to ask you both for your perspectives. If both of you could look behind you and see from all the experiences that you've had and from where you've started from and where you've gotten to today, and you could sort of get back and give yourselves one piece of advice, or if someone would come to you now starting a business sort of in your shoes the way you were when you guys started, what would that one piece of advice be?
I would actually say the best piece of advice I could give anybody is ask for more. Now, you've got to define your more. Is it more money? Is it more time? Is it more customers? Is it more growth? You have to define your more. And if I could go back, I would say I didn't ask for enough. I didn't ask for enough of myself. I didn't ask for enough of my customers. I didn't ask for enough of my clients when I priced things. I would say ask for a little more. Reach a little higher. See if you can get that little more. You can always drop back a little bit, but it's hard to re-ask after you've set a price, a goal, a substantive, achievement. So ask for more.
Elaine, what about you?
It's funny. I think of your question, Jay, and I think of when I was a classroom teacher, whether I was teaching kindergarten or grade 7, I would always share this with my class. And I always pretend of me sitting there as a former immigrant student when I was 7 too. And I always tell my class, no matter what grade, to always reach for the stars and don't be afraid to fall. Because when you reach for the stars, you're reaching so high that even if you fall, you're going to land higher than where you started. And so don't be afraid. Just reach high.